Hello and welcome to 40 Plus, the channel that offers fresh insight, grounded support, and a space to rethink what midlife is really about. I'm Carol Covelli, a licensed therapist, and we explore on this channel the emotional side of life after 40 so you can feel more grounded, clear, and in sync with yourself. Today I'm going to talk about someone that I work with. She's in her mid-50s, and I predominantly work with women in their 40s and 50s, and she is very typical of a lot of the women that I do work with. So what is happening in her situation is she came to see me because she reached a point where she was not able to cope with stress and overwhelm as she once had. So she is someone who takes on a great deal of responsibility in her work and at home. She's a single mom. She is, I would say, a taskmaster. She has her list, she has her organization, and she has to, because she has to keep work going and she has to keep home going. She has two kids, a daughter and a son, and adolescent age. And she came to see me because her ways of coping just weren't helping her anymore. So we explored how she coped, and she said that she would cope by just plowing ahead, burying herself more in work, pushing herself more to do more. She did consider herself a perfectionist and an overachiever. And she did say that when she was a child, so we explored a lot about how she grew up, and she said as a child she was actually very sensitive, and this was a huge negative in her family and at school. So often she would feel emotions pretty deeply. She was discouraged from feeling, and she found that by pushing feelings down and not showing that side of herself, she was able to get more attention, or able to more likely to avoid negative attention. And that's how she took in, as this is how she needs to cope with circumstances. And this is what she carried with her going into her 20s, going into her 30s. Now she's thinking, gee, I am feeling so overwhelmed. She's like, I can't even begin to peel away all the stress that I'm feeling right now. So we did a lot of work. Predominantly, we did brain spotting. We did a lot of looking back into our past, processing those experiences that taught her that feeling emotions was wrong. Pushing down emotions is what you're supposed to do. It went against who she was as a person, but again, she felt that she had to do that. So we processed a lot of the experiences connected with that. And what she was learning through the process was that she was treating her daughter very similarly to how her parents treated her. So her parents would discourage her from showing emotions, and my client thought she was doing better than her parents, and in a sense she was, because she would say, I will allow my daughter to express emotions, but to a certain point. And after a certain point, I just had to have her stop because it was too much. And she said, looking back, in the moment she didn't realize it, but looking back, she realized it was her own discomfort that was having her daughter stop expressing the emotions, because she started feeling the emotions. And it was so automatic in her to not express emotions. She didn't want to teach that to her daughter. She didn't want to set her daughter up for the same type of ridicule, or the same type of negative feedback that she had received. So she would just cut her daughter off. And through the work, my client learned that this was not healthy, and she started to rebuild that relationship with her daughter. She was very forthcoming in an appropriate way, an age appropriate way, with her daughter, who at that point was adolescence, going into like the middle of high school. And she was upfront with her daughter about how she was raised and how she was told not to express emotions, and how different experiences that she had lent itself to her not expressing emotions, or to keep them down as much as possible, or they're only allowed in certain situations. And she's built her, or rebuilt her relationship with her daughter. And through the work, and she says through the awareness, that has helped relieve some of her stress. So her stress touched several different areas of her life, but that was a huge stressor for her, was this relationship that she had with her daughter that just wasn't working. Now it's working better because she, my client, became more true to herself. And that is the story I want to point out, because many women in their 40s and 50s, predominantly that would be Generation X, Gen X, we're told to suck it up. We're told you can't have emotions. We're told you need to keep pushing forward. You need to be perfect. You have to have everything handled. And that is not sustainable. If it's not true to who you are, it's not sustainable. So you end up behaving in ways that are not true to yourself, pushing down emotions, pushing down feelings, pushing down sadness, and then it ends up pushing down happiness, because your brain and body don't pick and choose. If you're shoving down negative emotions and not expressing them, it's also harder to express the positive emotions. And so what happens is, when you reach your 40s and 50s and your body is changing and your thoughts are changing and you don't have the energy or the bandwidth to keep up this shield, things start to fall apart, things start to fall away. And not having that bandwidth in your 20s and 30s to keep plowing ahead, more likely what has been pushed down starts to come back up. And so that's why I predominantly see women in their 40s and 50s, so they can work these experiences through at their core, and to be able to feel true to themselves and express their emotions in a healthy way, to feel comfortable and confident with who they are now, so they don't have to keep pushing forward, because at some point all those responsibilities are going to end. At some point you're not going to work so much anymore, you're not going to be raising kids, and then you're going to be left in this state of being just hyper aroused all the time, and it's not healthy. So I hope this story has helped you to think about where you are in life, if you are in your 40s and 50s and you're feeling similarly, that you can work through what is keeping you stressed. You don't have to keep functioning in this way. And if you have any thoughts or anything that you would like to share about your own experience, please put it in the comments. If you think this video would also be helpful for someone else to see, or this story would be helpful for someone else to hear, then please share and like. And if you feel compelled to hear more from me, then please subscribe. And I look forward to seeing you in the next one.